I could hear my heart breaking as I read it. That was the moment it all came crashing down. Everything we had, all the moments that meant something, felt like they vanished in an instant. It felt like a betrayal. How could something so small be so destructive? But it was, and nothing could undo it. The end came not with a fight, but with silence and a single message that left me speechless. In that moment, time seemed to freeze. I couldn't grasp what was happening, but I knew it was over. I felt every ounce of hope drain from me as I read that message. It was the end of everything. I didn't need to hear any more words. That text, with its cold finality, said it all. It was like watching something slip through my fingers. Once I read that message, there was no going back. One text, it ended the relationship, and with it, everything I thought we had. In a matter of seconds, my heart shattered, and everything we built together disappeared. I never imagined one message could bring everything crashing down, but in that moment, it felt like my world ended. It wasn't just the text. It was the realization that the love we had was fading without either of us noticing. The sound of my phone buzzing was like a death knell. I never expected that message would be the final goodbye. One text, one cold sentence, and I knew the future I had envisioned with them was lost forever. It felt like time stopped the moment I read it. The words echoed in my mind as everything I believed in crumbled. I could feel the emptiness settle in before I even read the full message. I knew it was over. How do you fight for something when one text has already decided your fate? That was the hardest lesson. That single text felt like a betrayal so deep, it left a scar I wasn't sure I could ever heal from. In an instant, my heart went from full of hope to hollow, all because of one message I couldn't undo. I didn't even know how to process the shock. The message wasn't just a text, it was the end of everything. It was like someone flipped a switch. One message, and the world I knew vanished in front of my eyes. I read it over and over, but no matter how many times I tried to understand it, it still felt like a dream. You can feel your chest tighten as you read those words, realizing that one message is all it takes to unravel everything. I remember the shock, the disbelief. How could it all fall apart because of a few words on a screen? Every emotion hit me at once. The sadness, anger, confusion, all from a message that I never saw coming. The worst part wasn't even the text. It was the realization that I couldn't take back the things I had said or done before. I thought we had more time, more chances, but in that moment, I knew the message had sealed our fate. I felt like I had been blindsided. One text, and I went from being loved to being a stranger. You think you're strong, but then you read that message and realize you're holding on to nothing. It wasn't the words themselves, it was what they meant. The cold reality that hit me like a freight train. There are moments in life where you don't even need an explanation. That text said it all without a single word. One message, and I could feel the space between us grow wider with every second that passed. I remember the sinking feeling in my stomach as I read it. It was like the end of a chapter I didn't want to finish. That text was a revelation. Suddenly, I saw everything in a new light, and none of it was what I hoped for. In the time it took to read that message, my entire world was flipped upside down. I couldn't believe it was happening. It was like someone threw cold water on me. The shock of that message, the realization, hit me all at once. I couldn't understand how a relationship that seemed so strong could end so quickly, so abruptly. I wanted to reach out, to change things, but that message had already made its decision for both of us. The pain wasn't just in the words, it was in the silence that followed. That message was the death of everything we had. There's something haunting about knowing that you can't turn back the clock, especially after reading a message like that. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think straight. That one text left me reeling, unable to process what had just happened. What do you do when the message you never expected ends the relationship you thought was your forever? I watched my hopes crumble with every word, knowing that one message was more final than any goodbye could be. It's terrifying how quickly everything can change. That text, it destroyed everything we had in a split second. I still remember how my heart raced, how the world went quiet as I stared at that text, realizing it was over. Sometimes you don't even get a chance to fight back. That one text made sure I knew it was time to let go. The moment the text came through, I knew everything had changed. The silence that followed was deafening. You can feel the tension, can't you? That one message, that one sentence can unravel everything you thought you knew. I never thought one text could break a connection that seemed unbreakable, but it did. Here's why. That text wasn't just words on a screen. It was the final nail in the coffin of what we thought was love. They say words are powerful, but sometimes they can be weapons. This message shattered everything. One text, one single message, and suddenly All the memories, all the promises evaporated. I wish I could take back the moment I read that message. It ended more than a relationship. It ended a dream. The shock hit me instantly. One simple text, and I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't believe it. It's crazy how quickly everything can change. One moment, you're in love, and the next, it's all gone. I thought we were stronger than this, but that message proved how fragile everything really was. The words felt like a punch to the gut, and the silence afterward, devastating. I knew something was over. When I read that text, I knew the relationship was over. Even before I could respond, the damage was done. A single sentence sent my heart into a tailspin. Everything we had built was gone. It's surreal how one text can hold so much power. In that moment, it felt like the world had stopped. We had our issues, but I never imagined it would end this way. That message changed everything. I stared at the screen, unable to believe what I was reading. How could a few words destroy so much? What do you do when a text message takes away all the hope you've held onto for so long? It's unbelievable how quickly everything can collapse. One text, and suddenly we were strangers again. I thought I knew what love was until that text made me question everything we'd been through. It felt like a betrayal, but it wasn't just the message. It was everything that led to that moment. In that instant, my heart broke. A simple text, but it carried a weight I wasn't prepared for. Sometimes, the truth hits you in the most unexpected ways. That message, it was the truth, and it hurt. One text, one, and my world shifted on its axis. The finality in those words, the way they hung in the air, that was the moment it all unraveled. I could feel my pulse racing as I read those words. I couldn't believe it was over, but it was. It wasn't just the message. It was everything that message represented, and that was the hardest part. I wanted to scream, to fight, but all I could do was stare at that text. The end was written in black and white. I tried to rationalize it, to make sense of it, but in the end, that text made the decision for us. There are moments in life that change you forever. This was one of them. You never expect it. You never see it coming. But when it hits, you know, nothing is the same. It was like a knife to the chest, and I didn't even see it coming. That text destroyed everything. I thought I was prepared, but no one can ever truly be prepared for something like that. I never thought a text message could carry so much weight, but in that moment, it carried everything. The feeling of that message hitting my phone was unlike any other. It was the end of something I cherished. I don't even remember what I replied, if I replied at all. Everything felt like it was slipping away. That one message, just a few words, and suddenly all the love we shared felt like a lie. It was over before I even knew how to process it. A single text message, and the relationship was gone. In the span of a few seconds, my world fell apart. I could feel it in my bones. That text was the end. I never thought words could sting so much, but in that moment, they did. That message broke me. I thought we had more time, but that text, it told me everything I needed to know. It was done. It wasn't just the end of our relationship. It was the end of my trust in everything I thought was real. I wish I could have prepared myself for it, but how can you prepare for something that hits so hard? A simple notification, and everything I thought I understood about us was ripped away. In that moment, I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. All I could do was stare at the text and hope it wasn't real. How could one message change everything? How could it unravel years of memories, of love, so easily? It was like the ground beneath me crumbled. That one text was the reason our relationship ended. I felt numb, disconnected. The text was too much to process, too final to accept. I wanted to scream, to call, to fight for what we had. But the text, those words, kept me frozen. That text was a turning point, but I didn't realize it until I saw the consequences unfolding right before my eyes.